Hey, everybody, welcome aboard The Shallows, the pod designed specifically for all you 10-team and smaller league managers. I'm your captain, Eric Hendrickson, alongside, I almost said first mate, it's chief mate, Carson Picard. Carson, how are the Seas faring today?
Seas are, I had to scrape snow off and ice off my car this morning. So last week I said it was warming up. Not quite. But the Seas are doing just fine. We are so close to opening day and getting things really rolling, and it is a great time to be a baseball fan.
I came out of my captain's quarters today in shorts and a t-shirt. It was in the 70s today. Hello, spring.
Lucky you.
I know. I'm not going to get used to it, though. It's going to be in the 40s by Saturday. So not looking forward to that. But you know what I am looking forward to? Draft season. It is here. It's upon us. And here at Pitcherless, we have something awesome for you. Our live draft assistant is fully updated, and we've completely overhauled it for your drafts. Think of it as having a personal scout, an analyst, and a master strategist sitting right next to you as you draft.
And we have some new features, which include a fully integrated PLV 2.0 projection system and more streamlined system of entering picks, and also a new tagging system where you can designate players as sleepers, targets, and even avoids.
Did you miss out on a positional run? Don't worry, our live standings tab gives you real-time updates so you can adjust on the fly. See how your team stacks up to the rest of the league, see your projected finish, identify strengths and weaknesses, see what other teams need, and identify areas you can target.
The Draft Assistant is available with a PL Pro subscription, and if you want to support Pitcher List at the very highest level, lifetime subscriptions are still available.
Dominate your draft with our live draft assistant. Use promo code podcast LDA15. That's podcast LDA15.
And if you want some more analysis, follow our new PL Stats account at Pitcher List PLV. Player cards with everything you would need, from stuff grades, pitch locations, and even more in slick formatting.
I love that account. It is so insightful, especially for pitchers on a start-to-start basis. I'm loving it. You kind of get like a whole summary in one picture, and I love it. It's so
fantastic.
Nice. It really
is. It
is.
even has some updated formulating just to make sure it's even more precise.
I love it so much. The great team, the great stats team at work here at Pitcher List. But on today's show, we've got the Captain's Report. We're checking in on spring trading and the World Baseball Classic. We have favorite picks in the late rounds. We're up to rounds 15 through 22. This is the back end of the draft. And then we have our positional previews. We're continuing here with shortstop and outfield today. But before we officially leave port, we release a new episode every Friday morning at 11 a.m. So be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're available wherever you get your podcasts, and a video version is viewable on YouTube the same day as well if you want to see our beautiful faces. Made for radio, of course. So leave us a 5-star rating, a like, a thumbs up, a kind review, and don't forget we're part of the Pitcher List Podcast Network. So check out the other pods we have available. There are new episodes out daily, and visit pitcherlist.com for all the latest and greatest content published daily as well. We'll be right back with the Captain's Report right after this. Welcome back to The Shallows, the pod designed specifically for shallow league managers. We're back with the Captain's Report here, and first up we have injuries. Hunter Greene will be out until July because he needs a bone chip removed from his throwing elbow. Not great, Carson. You know how I feel about pitchers who throw that hard all the time.
Greene's been doing it for so long, and he still has not been a qualified pitcher. It seems like he got into gear, figuring out a little bit more command the last couple of years. He's going to be an interesting player a little bit later to highlight. Maybe he's an IL stash later. And once he comes back, I mean, we're still talking about an ace level or maybe a just below ace level type player. But man, huge loss for the Reds.
We will talk about starting pitchers and relief pitchers next week, and I'm sure we'll talk about Hunter Greene. But continuing with the injury news, Jeremy Pena, Kyle Teal, Kyle Stowers, Cedric Mullins are all questionable for opening day. If I'm not mistaken, Jeremy Pena fractured the tip of his finger, the very tip.
I think it was on his right ring finger, so just a little bit of a break, probably nothing too major. But yeah, some of these guys not extremely relevant in shallow leagues. That being said, some pretty decent news for some of these guys. Kyle Stowers in particular with a hamstring strain, for someone that's definitely going to go in all your leagues. Maybe, something to monitor as March rolls along.
Yeah, something to monitor. Maybe his value in the draft will slide, and then you get to get him at a very good price. So keep an eye on Kyle Stowers specifically, and I know Jeremy Pena is one of your favorites as well. Moving over to the WBC, Randy Arozarena, I don't know if you saw this. I think everybody saw this. Went to give his Mariners teammate Cal Raleigh a high five as Arozarena was stepping into the box. And Raleigh looked at him like he was the literal enemy and did not shake his hand, didn't dap him up. What do you think about something like that in the context of the WBC? This is your teammate we're talking about.
Oh, the World Baseball Classic. This has been a weird one so far, man. It's been different, strange vibes. I feel like the last one was a lot more upbeat, and this one's been kind of feisty. Am I right in saying that? I feel like there's been some interesting things happening. Yeah, this is something that like you just don't want to see. I don't think it's going to affect draft values. I don't think that's really wise to take into consideration. But like, what the heck, man? Play the game. Check the hand.
Arozarena did not have kind words for Raleigh after the game. We cannot air them on this show. That would be a no-no. But if you have the chance, go look them up. Just not safe for work. Let's put it that way. And also, Pete Crow Armstrong hit 2 home runs in USA's loss to Italy the other night. And that changes nothing for me and my outlook for him. And we will talk about him later in the pod.
By the way, you listeners will know the results of the Mexico-Italy game that is going on as we're recording this. So USA might have moved on. They might have been eliminated. We do not know as we're recording this. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I did watch a bit of the Italy-USA game yesterday, and it was worrisome to watch David Bednar not look good against players who are not Major League Baseball players. But, we've seen that before from David Bednar. He's someone we will, of course, talk about next week when we do our relief pitcher previews. But some spring training updates for you here. Corbin Carroll returned to live batting practice. Actually, in fact, he returned to the lineup today as we're recording this as the DH for the Diamondbacks. That's really good news for one of the handmade guys.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it before. Absolutely love Carroll. Absolutely love him at his draft position. This is such an encouraging sign. And, if that pop is back in the bat, absolutely buy where he's at.
And one last spring training update for you. Robbie Ray debuted a new slider. If you followed the PLV account, the Pitcher List PLV Twitter account where you could see the card of his start, you'd see it was a pretty good start. He debuted a new slider, like I said, striking out 4 over 4 scoreless innings. This is a guy who has struggled with command throughout his career, but he's a Cy Young winner, and he's looking to bounce back this year. But that does it right there for the Captain's Report. We'll be back in just a moment with our favorite picks in the middle rounds 15 to 22, right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Shallows, the pod designed specifically for you shallow league managers out there. We're going to go through rounds 15 through 22, which is the standard draft here. There are some shallow leagues that go 23, some that go 24, and then if you get beyond that, you're getting pretty deep. But again, we're going off 10-team, 22 players per roster. And so we've got rounds 15 through 22 today, talking about players that we want to save, which are the ones we want to target, and who we want to let drift out to sea and avoid. If you've missed rounds 1 through 14, go back and listen to our podcast from the last 2 weeks. We have rounds 1 through 7 from 2 weeks ago and rounds 8 through 14 from last week. But like I said, this week, rounds 15 through 22, we are actually going to start at ADP 130. Now, why? Why 130? It's supposed to be 140 for round 15. Well, this stuff is constantly updated. We are looking at we're looking at Fantasy Pros, sorting by Fantrax ADP. And between last week and this week, it was heavily updated to where there were some players between 130 and 140 that we really wanted to mention and talk about here. So we're just going to jump back a little bit. Plus, the end of the draft is a little looser in terms of ADP when you're going to target players. So we're going to start off here at 130. We have Azahanio, Ozzy Albies, Mike Trout, David Bednar, Trevor Rogers, Brandon Lau, Emmett Sheehan, Michael King, Mackenzie Gore, Nathan Evaldi, and Devin Williams. Carson, who you saving? Who you letting drift out to sea?
I think I really want to save Mackenzie Gore here. I like him a lot. I think he was really great the first half of last year, and I might just simply trust Texas's pitching dev more. I think they've got a good roster. If you're a league that cares about wins, I think it's going to be a definite upgrade over the Nationals. I think that Mackenzie Gore is kind of a sneaky nice get here for the ADP. This is a really nice grab. At the drifting out to sea, though, that's a tricky one. I feel like Trevor Rogers may drift out to sea. I think you're not going to like this, Eric. I think I'm letting Bednar and probably Devin Williams out to sea. I think we've reached the point in closers where it's past the guys you know are going to perform, and you're now buying a lot of questionable stuff. And while you're really looking at upside at this point of the draft, with closers, there's so much variance that it's really difficult to get me into invest with anything at this phase.
I'm not mad. You can let Devin Williams go as far out to sea as you want. Okay. David Bednar, though, I feel like one of those traps at closer. He could be phenomenal, but he could also end up in the minor leagues like he did last year at the beginning of the year. Let's not forget David Bednar got demoted to the minors last year because he was so bad. But keep in mind that both of those guys, David Bednar and Devin Williams, have much higher ADPs on the other sites where you'd probably have to take them before pick 100. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to save Michael King and Emmett Sheehan. Michael King was being taken as a top 10 pitcher last year. I don't know, other than in the injury that he experienced, of course, I don't know what in his performance says that he should be going this late in the draft. You have ace potential here this far down. I'm drafting that all day. And if you've missed on second base, though, don't let Albies and Brandon Lau go at this point, because after that, it's chaos at second base. Right? So I'm going to let drift out to sea, though. I will agree with you. Devin Williams and David Bednar in that group. Moving on to round 6. Well, technically, I guess this is round 15 here. We've got Robbie Ray, Ceddanne Rafaela, Munetaka Murakami, Drew Rasmussen, Ranger Suarez, Trevor Story, Noelvi Marte, Zach Wheeler, Bryson Stott, and Tanner Bybee. Carson, who are you saving? Who are you letting drift out to sea with Devin Williams?
Really weird round. I mean, there's so many guys at this stage that this is now the point where I'm kind of like, I don't know. And so this is where you might want to look for upside a little bit more. Tell you what, on a rate basis, I love Drew Rasmussen. I really do. I think Rasmussen, he's been actually reasonably dependable. He'll miss a few starts and maybe not a ton of volume there, but I think he's really solid. I also think I like Robbie Ray. He's a guy that, again, if you're looking for upside, there's a ton there. For years, he was like the all-time leader in Ks per 9, which I think is now Chris Sale. But he's I feel like an underrated strikeout guy. So at least in that phase, you're going to do really well. And I'm going to drift Zach Wheeler out to sea. I know. I just can't buy it. I really can't. And I could totally be bit in the butt for that. But I just cannot believe in an aging pitcher coming off of such a major operation. He's not going to pitch very much this year. I just don't want to believe in it. I can't believe in it.
I am right there with you. Zach Wheeler can get on whatever debris is floating in the ocean with Devin Williams, because there's no chance I want a thoracic outlet syndrome arm. First of all, the first year back from that injury. Second, a guy who's, how old is he? 35, 36? I don't want anything to do with Zach Wheeler. I can't believe he's being taken this early, and this is late in the draft. So I expected him to, quite frankly, go almost undrafted. I can't believe he's this high. Robbie Ray, I really like, just like you here. I'm not a big Rasmussen guy, only because he doesn't go deep into games, and the Rays do everything they possibly can to prevent him from doing that. We did get a question, I believe, on YouTube about quality starts and really paying attention to that. We will get into that more next week. But Rasmussen, if you play in a quality starts league, he is on my do not draft list 1,000%. We'll get to Trevor Story later, too. I can't wait to rip into that. Moving on to round 16, we've got Bubba Chandler, Brian Reynolds, Chandler Simpson, 2 Chandlers in one round. Tatsuya Imai, that's a that's a tongue twister for me. Christian Walker, Carlos Estevez, Itzhak Paredes, Shota Imanaga, Elliot Ramos, and Cade Horton Carson. Who you saving? Who you letting go?
Now, this one's more my round. I might even take two of these guys with these rounds and take them in 15 rather. Itzhak Paredes, Shota Imanaga, and Tatsuya Imai. Those are my saves. Any of those guys are available. I really like them here. With Shota, if he has that retained fastball, last year it dropped off a lot. This year it looks like it came back to where it was back in 2024. I think that's way more exciting. And he was really quite solid. And his whip is going to be pretty good, sneakily. He allows a lot of home runs, which is going to be, it's not going to damage his whip nearly as much as a guy that just allows a lot of balls in play. So that could be a nice fantasy grab. I really like Tatsuya Imai. I think what I've seen of him is a well above average pitcher. He is going 1-1 in almost every first-year player draft for very good reason. He's got that talent. And Itzhak Paredes, as long as he's in Houston, he's going to do really well. In a daily mover league, which I understand is not every league, in a daily mover league, Itzhak Paredes can really thrive if you work him in like a pseudo platoon kind of role. I like him a lot here.
Especially because third base is so shallow, you can do that with Paredes. Because maybe you've missed out on a good, solid, set and forget third baseman. You could shift your strategy in the draft. And it's important to be nimble as we're drafting here. I agree with you. I might reach into this group as well, as opposed to the previous group. I like Imanaga this deep. Again, a guy drafted as a top 25 pitcher last year, going way later than that now. I think when the Astros pay attention to a pitcher, you need to pay attention to a pitcher. That's Imai. I want nothing to do with Christian Walker. Absolutely nothing. So I'm going to let him drift out to sea there. But one of my targets here also might be Brian Reynolds, coming off of an up and down season. Second half was back to normal. If you look at his splits between the first half and the second half last year, I think he was tinkering with his swing, and then he went back to his normal swing. I don't know why guys do that, but they're so good that they can. Just think about that. I played baseball my entire life. I could not tinker with my swing or else I wouldn't have it for 3 years. And these guys get it back in 3 days. So it's just
Good
incredible. Thanks. Yeah, but between the ages of 10 and 13, my swing went back to, Anyway, I really like Brian Reynolds here. Moving on to round 17, we've got Xavier Edwards, Gleyber Torres, Jeremy Pena, Zach Gallen, Addison Barger, Wilson Contreras, Raisel Iglesias, Blake Snell, Aaron Nola, Jack Caglione. I feel like some of these guys were a little higher a couple weeks ago, and now they've fallen off a little bit.
Well, Pena certainly because the injury. Yeah, there's been some shifting around. Either way, would be a really fun round 3 years ago. Still, Jeremy Pena for me. Absolutely. I love Jeremy Pena, and I love Gleyber Torres, and I love Blake Snell here. All three of those guys are really, really excellent gets. I think you absolutely have to take them. Sneaky one here is William Contreras also with Boston. The bat was never the issue for Contreras. It was the durability. He's going to be at first base now in Boston. Nice left field for him. That could be quite fun. I am letting Zach Gallen drown. I think he just is over the hill. No other real way to put it. I think he's over the hill. I do not think he's going to be that guy anymore. And he's been someone that has had so much volume, but the rate stats are just not going to supplement that anymore.
29 professional baseball teams agree with you on Zach Gallen. The only one that didn't, the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yep.
I really like Wilson Contreras down here too. This is a guy going in the top, around pick 100 the last 5 years as one of the top catchers. Now only at first base. Again, like you said, bat not really the issue. Blake Snell down here on Fantrax. This is round 17, but if you look at some other sites, you're going to have to take him before pick 100. So just, again, check your site. Same thing with Jeremy Pena, going much earlier. But you know who I got to take here, man. My guy, Jack Caglione, looked great yesterday at USA versus Italy. I'm just saying, I think he's in for a big year. He's my guy. He's my target. Late in drafts.
I believe it. We're talking about ceiling versus floor by this point, and using that 5% rule I talked about last podcast, which if you don't remember, was a 5% drop off in adjusting for floor versus ceiling with each stage of the draft in a 10-team league. By here, we're talking around 16, was it? That would be, we're looking at around an 80-20 split. So you're really looking at ceiling at that point. And so, yeah, Jack Cagliari, I believe in him.
Look, if it's a swing and a miss on Jackie Cags at this point, it's not going to hurt me as much as
going to do a lot.
Look, I think you're going to be surprised. I really do. We'll talk about Jackie Cags, I'm sure, throughout the season and definitely later in the show. That's a tease. Moving on to round 18, we have Jack Flaherty, Dalton Varsho, Edward Cabrera, Jonathan Aranda, Marcus Semien, Jacob Wilson, Shane Baz, Will Smith, the catcher, not the relief pitchers. The relief pitcher still in Major League Baseball? I don't know. Not fantasy relevant. Ryan Helsley and Andrew Abbott. Carson, who are you saving? Who are you letting drift?
I've talked about Will Smith before, and I still think, even though he may just barely be qualified, I think he's just so good on a rate basis in 2-catcher leagues. I think it's absolutely you have to do it in daily mover leagues. I think so. Depending on their league format, he becomes like a should get to a must get. But someone else beat you the punch. You know who I might like here? Marcus Semien. I think if you're talking about someone who's got so much production on a volume basis, and I think day by day it can be a little shaky, but I just like so much about Semien. He's up there in age, but now on the Mets, probably a little bit more improved RBI potential. He is going to be next to another elite shortstop in Francisco Lindor with Bo Bichette in that lineup. It's fun. I like Semien here. I think that could be, what is this, pick 174? And that's one of the lower ones of your league format or your league host of choice. I like that a lot. I think at second base too, that could be really sneaky productive.
Will Smith here going way later than all the other platforms, by 7 rounds. So you're going to have to take Will Smith probably around 9, 10, 11 if you're playing on the other platforms. Shane Baz has so much upside if he can just put it together. I trust. Man, if you want to take a shot on upside, that's the guy in this round. Because to me, I'm not considering Will Smith. He's not going to last this long. I just don't think so. And Jonathan Aranda also had a really good season last year. It's going to be interesting.
Really good.
It's going to be interesting to see if he can.
But really good.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to hit in the trop. And then I think he got. Helsley might not be a bad pick at closer here at this point in the draft. And honestly, I don't want anything to do with Andrew Abbott. I don't believe it. I don't believe it one bit. Plus, he plays in Cincinnati. The ball is going to go flying out of the park there. So that does it for round 18. We still have rounds 19 through 22 to go, but we're going to step away for a quick break, and we'll be right back with round 19. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Shallows. We are in our round-by-round preview of who we're looking to save. Those are our targets, and who we're letting to drift out to sea. Here we go. We're up to round 19. That's ADP 180. We're going to start with Chris Bubich, Jorge Polanco, Matt McClain, Matthew Boyd, Dylan Cruz, Jeff Hoffman, Sal Frelick, Adolis Garcia, Alec Burleson, and Trent Grisham. Carson, who are you saving? Who are you letting drift out to sea with Devin Williams and Zach Wheeler on that floating object way out there?
The only person I am saving here is Alec Burleson. He is the only one I'm even remotely I think that makes sense. Everyone else, maybe Matthew Boyd. Everyone else, I just think there's not enough value. There's too many red flags. They're either aging. I don't think they're going to be a good value for whatever reason. Alec Burleson, I think you're buying up. I think he is really nice platoon bat. He had, I think, a 134 WRC plus last year, kind of has some steal potential as well. I think he's really solid. Everyone else here, gone, out. Don't want him.
I think Jorge Polanco might be a really good value. Again, Mets lineup, really strong lineup. Second and third base eligible. Check your platforms. Matt McClain, close to 2020 guy. I just don't like the batting average and the OPS that comes with that. But I'm going to target Chris Bubich. This guy was an ace last year until he got hurt. Plain and simple. He was an ace, straight up. And I don't know why people aren't giving him more credit for what he did last year. We didn't just see it last year. We saw it when he came back from Tommy John the year before in I believe, a 30-inning sample. And then we saw it the year he got hurt, too. I love Chris Bubich here. This is, talk about upside. This is my draft pick here, without a doubt. And I am letting Dylan Cruz drift out to sea. I want nothing to do with him. I understand he's played about a full season in Major League Baseball, and he's on like a 15-30 pace, but that comes with a batting average below his weight, and I don't like that. I don't want anything to do with Dylan Cruz until he can prove that he is a Major League hitter. All right, round 20. Moving on. ADP 190, we have Kazuma Akamoto, Josh Hader, Royce Lewis, Ramon Laureano, Trevor Megill, TJ Friedel, Merrill Kelly, Connor Griffin. Whoa, he is moving up. And Colton Cowser and Sal Stewart. Carson, who are you saving? Who are you letting drift out to sea?
So by this point, I think we should properly acknowledge that the Fantrax rating of closers is a little wonky. And again, check your league formats, yada, yada, whatever. But so I'll just put a pin in Hader and say, I like him a lot. Actually, I think we should maybe start having all-time closer conversations about him soon. With how
Mariano Rivera is the greatest ever.
Lay, I'm not talking I'm not talking I'm talking one. I know, and I know Goose Gossage is up there too. Okay, we don't have to get on me, Eric.
I wasn't gonna say anything about Goose. Just no one can touch Mo. Anyway.
Except for
don't say it.
For,
don't say it.
Except for Ichiro that one time, which was fun. But like he hit 20 home runs this career, and one of them was off from Rivera. Anyway, who am I saving? It's Sal Stewart. Sal Stewart, man. He has Kyle Bland, who does the PLV work for the site, absolutely fantastic. He and Nate Schwartz, fellow PL writer, have like a cult around Sal Stewart because they want him everywhere. He's projected so well. Plays in a great park. He's in ample opportunities. I think he's a really nice get here as a utility kind of rotational player, corner infield. I think that's a really great upside with the bat. And we've talked about it enough. Akamoto, love him. Connor Griffin.
Favorite of the pod.
I don't think I have to say anything else about Connor Griffin. Just say his name. Who am I letting drift out to sea? I'm letting Royce Lewis drift out to sea every day of the week. I don't believe in him at all. And I can say that a little bit because I'm a Twins fan. So I have a little bit. It sounds a little mean, but it's at least from the heart.
So Royce Lewis is floating out to sea with Devin Williams and Zach Wheeler. Those three can just stay as far away from our boat as possible. I'm going to target Ramon Laureano here. He's been great in his last 3 stops. I know his numbers took a little bit of a dip at Petco, but man, a lot of guys take a dip when they get traded mid-season. He's been very good over his last, I think it's like 192 games or something. He's got like 38 or 40 home runs and 280 something batting average. He's been very good, very underrated. And I think if you've missed out on your third outfielder at this point, or you're looking for that fourth outfielder as either a bench or your utility spot, I think Laureano is a really good upside play here. And a very, dare I say it, safe floor at this point in the draft. Megill is pretty good if he can stay healthy. I know he's got that elbow thing last year. Hader, of course, and by Royce Lewis. I want to talk about Connor Griffin, but like, upset that 5% rule at this point, you can't lose, right?
Listen, we'll say this about Connor Griffin. He has all of the tools you could want in the tool shed. The question with him is going to be when he's thrown in the deep end, which will be this year, probably by May. I mean, it's almost a certainty at this point, I think. He is still 19. Can he swim immediately? Is it a this year question? Or is it it this year or is it next year? It's not a matter of if, but when. There's all the upside in the world. That's what we got on Griffin.
Moving on to round 21, ADP 200, Colson Montgomery, Noah Cameron, Caleb Durbin, Jack Leiter, Dalen Lyle, Will Abreu, Pete Fairbanks, Ezekiel Tovar, Daniel Palencia, and Where did this name come from? Joe Musgrove. Carson, who are you saving? Who are you letting drift out to sea?
We're in the real sicko territory now. Even in a shallow league, it's once you get to 200, it's out there, man. This is one I think that as we're looking for upside, and we're now at total upside reaching. There's two names that stick out to me that I'm like, I think these guys, if it goes well, can go great. Colson Montgomery and Jack Leiter. Leiter. Jack Leiter, top tier fastball, bottom-ish tier control. Honestly, his control wasn't even that bad. I think I'm kind of overstating that. His command was pretty decent. I think Leiter has had the runway now to be great. Texas has a really good, I think, development of pitchers. They've done a pretty good job with their veterans. I want to see what they can do with the young guy. And like you said, he's got the velo. He's got the movement of his pitches. You're aiming for the moon here. So he could hit it.
I kind of think at this point in the draft, and this will be the theme for the next couple rounds too, is the ADP around here just doesn't matter. Like there's no such thing as reaching too far down at this point in the player pool, right? Like if you wanted to, and I'm just going to go a few rounds ahead here, that are actually outside of our 220 ADP. Like if you wanted to draft Adley Rutschman here, no one will be mad at you because you have, number one catcher upside there. It's just this part of the draft is so wonky. But if we're going to constrain ourselves to the rules of our game, right? The rules that we've imposed on ourselves, I agree with you. Jack Leiter's a really good upside pick here. Noah Cameron is interesting, although I'm kind of worried about how long will the gimmick last. But Joe Musgrove was an ace at one point, so why not? He's not going to have any restrictions coming back from his injuries, plural. So why not take the upside there, right? Again, at this point, you can't go wrong. If you do, you just drop them and you pick up somebody else because you've invested very little draft capital into them. ADP 210, Emilio Pagan, Kyle Manzardo, Jordan Beck, Brady Singer, Brendan Donovan, Carlos Rodon, Alec Boehm, Shane McClanahan. I had to pause there for a second. Shane McClanahan, Marcelo Zena, and Evan Carter. Carson, who are you saving? Who are you letting drift out to sea?
Yeah, that brief pause was for Shane McClanahan's velo as a moment of silence. Evan Carter is a nice name here. Brendan Donovan's kind of a fun name here. I like both of those guys. Who am I let drift out to sea? Jordan Beck's just kind of a guy I can't really believe in. I think I like the Colorado boon. I do. I just don't know if I see enough of other tools around him. It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't do it for me. And it's as simple that we're sort of going live at least a little bit. We've done obviously research on some of these players, but I see that name and it doesn't strike anything in me, Eric. It doesn't move me.
Yeah. Let's pour one out for Shane McClanahan because he was a sleeper pick last year with people kind of forgetting, coming off of Tommy John surgery. And then he got hurt again. And then he got hurt again. And it's only a matter of time before he gets hurt again. I'm sorry. It just is. It's so sad. The Rays also treat their pitchers like they're babies. And maybe that's why all of the Rays pitchers always get hurt. I'm just saying there's a level of kid gloves that you don't need to treat these people with, these grown athletes. And I think the Rays take it maybe just like a step too far. I don't know. Just saying, Drew Rasmussen has had 3 Tommy John surgeries. Okay. Shane McClanahan has now had one. Who's next in the pitching staff? Shane Baz got out of there. Oh, wait, he also had one. So, man, I just stay away from Rays pitchers. Okay. They're just going to drive you nuts. I don't think they're worth the time.
Oh, they're so good.
I know they're so good. And I know they're going back in the trot, but there are enough things to stress about. I don't need to stress about, 2 pitchers on my fantasy baseball pitching staff. You can do less stressful, especially at this point in the draft. I'm going to take Carlos Rodon. I mean, he was very serviceable. It's not great. I'm constraining myself to the rule here, Carson. I don't want any of these guys.
You got to follow the rules. We'll break the rule. We'll get past it in a lot. We'll have a whole section in a bit. But we got one more to go.
One more to go. All right, here we go. Quinn Priester, Mitch Keller, Casey Mize, Kenley Jansen, Yusei Kikuchi, Jung-Hoo Lee, Ryan Nelson, Connolly Early, Shane Smith, and Mickey Moniak. Carson, who are you saving? Who are you letting drift out to sea?
Eric, I have a trivia question for you.
Uh-oh.
What was the 7th highest rated four-seam fastball last year by StatCast run value?
I'm going to take a wild guess. Was it Quinn Priester
Nope.
or Ryan Nelson?
Nope. Nelson was
not
higher, actually, but
Oh.
that's like his only thing. I think Nelson was like, I can check. Hold on. I have this pulled up. Nelson was 1, by the way, which is
Ooh.
really fun, but he also kind of has nothing else.
That fastball is so good. It carried him for a good portion of the season. Late in the season, he was a good streamer down the stretch.
I do like Ryan Nelson, although he's kind of like a sort of pseudo reliever at times. I like Ryan Nelson. But no, number 7 though was Shane Smith.
Ooh.
Did you know that? Did anyone
I didn't,
know that?
but I like Shane Smith a lot.
I like Shane Smith. I do. I think he's kind of fun. And he's going to get a ton of chances in Chicago with a lineup that isn't going to be completely devoid of wins now. The White Sox are serious at this point. They are a real team. 2 years ago, absolutely not. Last year, they kind of barely were. They're a real team now with some really fun players. I talked a little about, we'll talk about Colson Montgomery and some guys later. But I like Shane Smith here. I also like Mitch Keller here. Mitch Keller is the best bad pitcher in baseball, I think. He is top 5 in innings pitched over the last 3 years. He consistently has an ERA kind of in the mid to low 4s. He has swing and miss stuff. He is not good, but he is someone who, you know what? He's going to be dependable as an option. And in points leagues, he's really nice because he's always going to be there. In some league formats, he can be pretty decent as a guy that's going to be able to rack up some volume totals in Ks. He doesn't carry carries a decently high, but not terribly high whip. And maybe an increased potential for wins. He goes fairly deep into starts. I like Mitch Keller here. I like a lot of guys. Who am I letting drift out to see? Mickey Moniak is probably, he gets a Colorado boon, but that's about it. I think that he's had nothing in his career that's shown interest. Don't bother. Yeah, you should have a center fielder by now. Come on.
Yeah, you should definitely have an outfielder. All 3, 4, or 5 outfield spots. You really shouldn't be playing in a 5 outfielder league if you're in a shallow league. If you are, let us know how that's going for you, because what other positions are being reduced. I love Shane Smith here. Big fan. I had him rostered a good portion of last season, even in shallow leagues. There's a lot to like in his profile, so I'm gonna take him there. Ryan Nelson's a good streamer, but again, at like this point in the draft, I would draft these guys before anybody in the previous round, and then I would draft some of the guys that come after this, maybe before most of these guys as well. So, Carson, I want to ask you, as we wrap up our favorite picks in all of the rounds here, now that we've gone from rounds 1 all the way to 22, and depending on what kind of time you have to pick, that might be 2 weeks later in your draft, or it might be 2 hours later. Is there anybody outside the range of players that we've discussed here? And we discussed all of them. Is there anybody who we didn't talk about that doesn't fall within our rules of the top, 200 picks that you really like and want to target?
I think Max Muncy at third base is a guy that's been good forever, and he's probably going to be he's probably still going to be good. And there's playing time concerns, but he's still going to produce really well. I like him a lot in OBP leagues. Obviously, he's really excellent. I like Jose Soriano a lot. This is kind of just a me thing. The strikeouts aren't totally there, but he is surprisingly a bit of a workhorse. He's got a really nice kind of Framber Valdez light pitching approach. I think I kind of dig him as a little bit of a late round guy. Sure, why not? Looking else down the list, Giancarlo Stanton's kind of fun here. He was kind of back last year. He was producing at a pretty solid clip. I think that could be someone that's a nice bat you aren't going to find here very often. And then, Kodai Senga had a, rough-ish last year, but I think he's going to be an arm that's reasonably dependable. Logan O'Hoppe is going to get a lot of shares at catcher, and as a backup in like a 2-catcher league, that could be something worthwhile. Clay Holmes, I like a lot. Clay Holmes is good, man. Clay Holmes is good, man. Eric, maybe Clay Holmes is like trauma-inducing for you. He's breathing really heavily, audio listeners. The face he's making, he's angry. He's good, and I'm not gonna let you listen to me. He was a good closer. I don't care. Kevin McGonigal, like, as is buried in the prospect list, but he could be pretty fun. There's some names to keep in mind here. JJ Weatherholtz, we've talked about him before. He's going to get a full season probably. And of course, I'm going to be remiss if people who know me would know this. Carlos Correa, going to be third base eligible. If you are punting steals, Carlos Correa is really, 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 really good.
This list at this point is really just like the dart throws or I'm taking a gamble on 105% upside, zero, like negative 5% floor. There is all upside here. Logan Henderson, big fan. I really like Max Muncy and Brenton Doyle and Adley Rutschman here too. Andrew Vaughn was really interesting for a little bit last year. Maybe he can build on that. I want nothing to do with Clay Holmes, as you predicted. Stanton is also kind of an interesting case because he was not good for like 4 years before that, but also he's always hurt. And he was hurt last year too. Jake Berger, let's not forget about Jake Berger, 30 homer, 100 RBI upside, 250-ish batting average, injury plagued season last year, but he is not a bad pick this far down in the draft as your like last pick. Samuel Basayo at catcher, gonna mostly play DH.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, a hitting prodigy for no other way of saying it. Kevin McGonigal, also a really good pick here. JJ Weatherholt, my absolute favorite to take this late. And you know who's a good like last round pick that no one should forget about, and he really shouldn't ever be this far down. And you stash him, you put him on your IL spot the second season starts. Garrett Cole.
I knew
okay?
it. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You know what? That's a good place for it. I think something to take away here is, know your league format, know how your roster is shaking out, and kind of analyze where you're doing strongly in the drafts, what's a little weak, and maybe later in the rounds here, for your last couple of picks, look at if there are injury risks that are significant in your roster. If you're taking your Trouts, your Seekers, your aging veterans, any, pitchers over the age of like 35, or just guys that have been maybe a little questionable on their health of sorts. If you want that, you may want to go towards stability a little bit later, and actually seek a little bit of a combined floor, so to speak. And on the flip side, if you've got someone on the top first 10 or so rounds, by that point, you should have almost your entire lineup filled. Then you can totally shoot for the moon. And that's just sort of the thing of looking at who you have and pivoting appropriately.
Yeah, that's really good. Keeping an eye on your roster construction and kind of just seeing how you can fill out the back end, whatever holes you might have at that point in the draft in your roster. Again, these are low risk picks. Basically, everyone we've talked about between rounds 15 and 22 are so low risk. The capital that you're investing in them isn't that high. It's not that expensive. Personally, I'd like, maybe 15 to 17 in that range. I'd still like to maybe find my third closer or my fourth closer, depending on format, or like my bench hitter that I want to go into the season with. But, once you start getting into the end, like, it's okay if you swing and miss at this point. Plenty of ability to recover with free agents. And again, don't forget about those IL stashes too. This is a great point in the draft to take them. But that does it for our favorite picks in all of the rounds 1 through 22. Again, if you missed 1 to 14, go back to a couple weeks ago, listen to 1 through 8. And last week we had 1 through 7. And then last week we had 8 through 14. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our shortstop and outfield position previews, so stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Shallows. We're going to talk about our shortstop and outfield previews today, giving you our 2 biggest targets, our 2 biggest avoids, and our 2 biggest swing for the fences picks. We're going to give you a few more than that for outfield because it is a big position, and there's just a lot of players to talk about for that, so we're going to give you maybe 2 or 3 for each one of those in the outfield. But let's start at shortstop here. This is quite the opposite of what we talked about last week, which was second and third base, the shallowest positions in fantasy. Shortstop might be the deepest.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking here, it really any point in the draft, you're going to be able to get somebody really good, somebody that you're going to be able to set and forget in shallow leagues specifically, and maybe even one is your utility spot. So Carson, who are you looking to target at shortstop?
At shortstop, I think we have to frame ourselves a little differently because you're not looking at pick 150 for your top shortstop. This is a guy like in real baseball, you're securing early. So I'm going to focus on that and saying, here's two guys I think, or here's one guy I think absolutely you should target where he's taken. Gunnar Henderson. He's taken high and it may sound a little strange, but I think in the second round, that's a great value. I think, honestly, if I'm truly honest, I think even in the late first, I could say totally dependable. I think he's so good. A couple of years ago, he was the best one of the best shortstops in baseball, just behind Bobby Witt Jr., who is at an all-time peak right now. I mean, we're talking sensational production. There was a point where Gunnar Henderson outpaced Aaron Judge in F4 in 2024, which I just want to say that's insane.
Yes.
At any point.
Yes.
And I think getting him in the second round is fantastic. He is tremendous talent. I think he's totally worth it. And later on, there's a pretty definite shelf. And I think we'll talk about shelves eventually. Each of these positions that we've talked about have kind of a shelf, a cliff where things fall off of pretty definitively. For me, the buck stops at Willy Adames. After that, I think it really goes off. I think Willy Adames does a lot of things really well, and he was disappointing last year, I think, to a lot of people, a lot of fantasy managers. Still hit 30 home runs, still swiped a decent amount of bags. And you know what? I think it's going to go up. He wasn't really terribly injured, if I remember correctly, and he plays in a decent park, or a fine park for him. I like Willy Adames a lot. He's taken around 100 with his ADP. I think you can take him late if the big dogs don't fall. I like Adames.
I really like Willy Adames too. In fact, he kind of saved one of my team's seasons last year when he got really hot in the second half because I had Mookie Betts at shortstop and Mookie was riding the struggle bus last year. And so Adames was just floating out there on the waiver wire. Again, shallow league. This can happen. And I can't wait to talk about that as the season goes on. Adames was out there. I picked him up. He carried my team for a little bit. And then when he slowed down, somebody was dumb enough to drop Geraldo Perdomo, who I then picked up too. Look, silly things happen, okay? But he was a great stopgap last year, and I agree with you. He is kind of like the end of what you should be looking to draft at shortstop in a shallow league. I am going to pick Mookie Betts, even though I just said, he was riding the struggle bus last year. Again, this is a guy who's been a first or second round pick for the last 8 to 10 years. And so I'm going to take that guy at his cheapest draft value in a decade. I think Mookie is going to be perfectly fine. I think whatever that illness was he had in Japan last year, that just derailed him. I mean, he lost, 15 pounds, 20 pounds or whatever it was in a matter of a week, which is wild. You know how hard you work to lose that much weight? And it can take you like a year. He did it in a week. Like that messes with you. And so he just couldn't really get back to it. I love Mookie at his ADP. I'm targeting him. And I'm also targeting Bo Bichette. Again, another guy who used to be an early round pick, playing in a really great lineup, coming off of a good year. I don't think the power, he's not going to be a 25 home run guy. If he gets to 20, I'd be surprised. He's maybe going to steal 10 bases. But what he's really going to do this year for you, RBI and runs and batting average, 3 of the harder categories to get at his ADP. So that's why I'm targeting both of those guys. Again, shortstop super deep. But Carson, who are you looking to avoid at
Audio
shortstop?
listeners, I'm stepping away from my desk for a second for effect. Anyone outside the top 12? All of them. All of them. Now, I like a lot of guys there as players in general. I think we're going to talk about some of them. I think there's a lot of players we've talked about Jeremy Pena, for instance, is a guy. We'll talk about Dansby Swanson a little bit, spoilers. And I think there's some fun players here that can supplement the shortstop position as middle infielders, as even utilities, although I think that's a fairly bad value for utilities. But, besides the point, here's the thing. You got to get a good shortstop. You cannot depend on late rounds for it. That is a point. You have the depth in a shallow league to be able to get a good one. You have to. Do not skip out on it. Willy Adames is number 11. Bo Bichette is number 12 at the shortstop rankings. After that, it falls so far, so quickly. The next is Dansby Swanson, who's a pretty dang good pick at the ADP, but even then you're looking a lot more towards upside for a good situation there. And then after that is Trevor Story at 160. Do not go past Adames without a shortstop.
I
Please.
100%. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Because you know what happens? If you go past that point, and I realize we're not playing shortstop against shortstop in like a head-to-head league, right? We're not doing that. But it will give you such a disadvantage relative to other teams. You don't want that. You want to be able to compete basically positionally or get an advantage at a position as much as you possibly can, which is, just to go back to second base real quick, which is why we're like, go draft Ketel Marte if you can, or Jazz, because after that, you don't have an advantage at the position. If you go past 12 at shortstop, you do not have a competitive, you're not on the same competitive field as everybody else at shortstop. Look, of course, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt are going to be way better than CJ Abrams, Bo Bichette. I get it. But the difference between, CJ Abrams and Dansby Swanson and Xavier Edwards and Jacob Wilson is that's a larger gap. So you want to prevent that from happening is what we're saying.
And I think also it's just worth mentioning that you may think in a shallow league you can punt these things, but I would say if it shakes out that some players, say at the turn, want to lock up their middle infield and take a couple shortstops, or if even go in their ADP, I think you can chase. I think you can reach for some of these guys just to make sure you're not picking the shortest straw. Absolutely. Cannot stress this enough, how important that top 12 is.
I'm going to say I'm going to avoid Trevor Story. I want nothing to do with him. He was useless for 4 seasons, and then he was good. Okay, he wasn't totally useless, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm so mean. I don't believe it. I want nothing to do with Trevor Story, so he's my avoid at all costs, but he kind of comes right at that point that we were just talking about. So, Carson, who are you swinging for the fences on at shortstop?
At shortstop, I think Connor Griffin. Enough said. But I'm also shooting for the fences for a guy that's kind of gone under the radar with some of these new prospects, which is someone who debuted last year, Colson Montgomery. Former top 10 prospect, I believe, shifted a bit, and then had to kind of turned it on last year, was able to break into the majors and did really well. OPS north of 800, demonstrated excellent power, good speed. He's going to be given a full opportunity for the White Sox. I think he could be someone that really has a ton of upside late in the draft, is great for injury substitutions, and maybe can even break in as a middle infielder or have a bat strong enough to be a utility player. I like it. There's a lot of good things there.
He also has third base eligibility, which is helpful.
He does, yes.
Especially because third base is terrible. I'm going to stick with my pick here for swing for the fences because you got me thinking there for a second. The rookies, Connor Griffin, Kevin McGonigal, JJ Weatherholt, who I talked about twice last week. But I'm going to say Dansby Swanson, who, like we said a few minutes ago, is the cliff. But Dansby went 2020 last year. He underperformed his expected stats. There's a good chance that Dansby comes into this season and overperforms his ADP significantly. So I kind of really like his value here, especially if you have a middle infield slot. If you've somehow completely whiffed before this point, he is my swing for the fences pick as a guy who has 2020 upside, can hit 275.
You ever see a cartoon of someone falling off a cliff and they hit like a ledge halfway down before and they bounce kind of dramatically? That's Dansby Swanson. He's right in the middle of that fall off.
Yeah, he really is. Again, don't miss past that point. So for shortstop, our targets are Gunnar Henderson. For shortstop, our targets are Gunnar Henderson and Willie Adames, Mookie Betts, and Bo Bichette. Our avoids are how did you went really far back, right? I'm gonna do a similar thing. Anyone outside the top 12. And then
Brilliant.
Trevor Story. And our swing for the fences picks are Connor Griffin, Colson Montgomery, and Dansby Swanson. Now, moving out of the infield, we've done all the infield positions. If you've missed any of them except shortstop because you didn't listen to the last 2 weeks, we have catcher, first base, second, and third base the last 2 weeks. So go back and listen to those shows if you've missed them. And here we go, outfield. Preliminary targets here. Are you targeting early? Are you targeting middle? Are you targeting late? This is a position that you can fill basically at any point in the draft.
Yeah, this one's a little interesting. Like I said earlier, I'm really keeping in mind the shelves of a position. If I don't have third base filled and there's a good outfielder, but I'm saying, in midway through round 6, there's got to be something in my head saying, this is going to get bad soon. So you got to deal with it. It's like laundry. Yeah, it's going to come back to you eventually. Put it away. I think here there's so much talent, so deep, and at a certain point, it kind of just becomes a question of availability rather than actual raw production. And so I think you can target it early. Absolutely. You can target late, you can target middle. Just be sure that you're not getting the shortest straw at each of the weak positions.
So, with that in mind, I wrote 2 or 3. We can go 2 or 3 each because, again, this is a deep position. Everyone needs at least 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 outfielders. Hopefully, you don't have 5 starting outfield spots because then you're not in a shallow league. But thank you for listening and keep listening. So, who are your targets in the outfield, Carson?
My targets here, and we'll keep it a little briefer than normal because we have so many guys here. George Springer and Jacob Marcy. Springer's being taken surprisingly late for a guy that did surprisingly well. You know what? I think I'm buying the upside that he does it again, or at least does it in a similar level. I like him a lot. And Jacob Marcy, guys, Miami might be good.
No.
They might be kind of good. I believe it.
Look, as a nautical themed podcast, I really am going to root for the nautically themed teams, but I just have no faith in the Marlins. My targets are going to be Yordan Alvarez. Love his ADP value. Again, a second round pick now being taken around 5. I mean, this is a guy who's, yes, he's had 2 seasons on his resume where he's hurt, but the other 4, incredible. Like the averages across those 4 seasons are just top notch. You're looking at a guy who's going to hit 290 plus, 30 plus home runs, drive in 100 runs, score 90. Like, you can't go wrong picking him in the 5th round. I really believe that Yordan Alvarez is a great value. Brian Reynolds, who we talked about earlier in the show, really like him at his ADP, and Ramon Laureano as well. I kind of wanted to stay out of the obvious ones, although we did have a comment on Yordan Alvarez, so that's why I wanted to address him. If you're listening, you know who you are. Thank you for listening again. Carson, who are you avoiding in the outfield?
So 2 guys late and then 1 guy really early. I don't want anything to do with Adolis Garcia and Dylan Cruz. Simply put, at that phase in the draft, I don't think they offer enough upside to me. Cruz is, by all accounts to me, a lost cause. I just can't believe in it. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I'm going to be. And I think there's a lot of nice pitching, nice prospects. You can get up that point that can have a lot more to your team. I am also avoiding Kyle Tucker. And I'm doing this because I think in the 2nd round, simply, there's a lot of names I like more, names that play more, and names that I think are going to be a little more dependable even on a rate basis. Let me put it this way. He is taken right next to Fernando Tatis Jr. and Corbin Carroll, and a couple picks before Gunnar Henderson, who I just talked about. And even, guys like Ketel Marte, Francisco Lindor, and a lot of really dependable bats. Vlad Guerrero is taken after Kyle Tucker. And I just don't think Tucker, who I don't really believe in the steals for, he is quietly slow, and he has been for a while.
Yeah, he's one of the slowest players, I believe.
He's slow. He's quite slow, 26%. Which, Juan Soto, Josh Naylor. But that being said, just don't think, even with the move to LA, I just don't think he's worth that price.
I am going to go with PCA. And like I said, we have talked about him before. I will die on that sword. I do not believe in PCA. He's too much of a free swinger. Michael Harris, also total avoid for me. We talked about him already this season. And then a guy who a lot of people don't really know what to do with because he showed, pretty good in 2024. And then last year was not great. That's Lawrence Butler. I think we've seen more bad from Lawrence Butler than we have good. We saw 2 good months of Lawrence Butler in 2024, and then the rest was kind of mid or lower. So I'm just not a fan of him at all. So he's a total avoid for me. Carson, who are you swinging for the fences on in the outfield? Who, by the way, they're closest to the fences. Bad joke.
All right. I'm making a stare at Eric, audio listeners, and I wish
I'll be here till Friday.
Well, I'll make some comments after the show. Jung-Hoo Lee is going to be one of them for me. I think he has a great contact tool, and I don't think he's just been given a full shot yet. I really don't. I like a lot of things about him. His process plus is pretty good. He's a fun guy, and for even in a shallow league, I think there's a lot of good upside here if the base stealing can get going. Speaking of base stealing, hey, you know who I really like? Chandler Simpson. Okay. He will not hit a home run this year, or he might hit one. But if he gets a full-time role in a leadoff position, you've kind of got like a modern, more extreme version of Juan Pierre. And I think the average is such that he can get on base a lot, even though he has a crazy low walk rate. And Eric and I were talking about this before the show. He might steal 100 bases this year. I don't think that is impossible. It's going to be a matter of playing time. He was genuinely bad at defense last year. If that improves, he's probably going to be put in the lineup more. And I think he could be kind of fun. Put him at the back of the lineup, have it turn over to him to have the top of the lineup knock him through. Could be sneaky productive. I like him. Take a shot.
Yeah, this is our swing for the fences pick. So don't add us about having Chandler Simpson on here. 100 stolen bases is within the range of outcomes. Like we're not just saying like, oh, like Shohei's going to hit 100 home runs. No, that's not within the range of outcomes.
Well,
but some would argue otherwise, but I highly unlikely. I feel like it's more likely Chandler Simpson steals 100 bases than Shohei hitting 100 home runs. So I do feel like it is within realistic outcomes. It does come down to his defense for playing time. But man, if you somehow play in like this weird settings league where stolen bases are just like a big deal, I don't know why you wouldn't target him. My swing for the fences picks here are Brenton Doyle and Chase DeLauter and my guy, Jackie Kaggs, right? So we've talked about Kaggs already, but I just really want to touch on the other two. DeLauter first real quick. Chase DeLauter is allegedly a savant with the bat. He knows the strike zone just as well as Juan Soto. That's the scouting report and the prospect report. The problem is he cannot stay healthy. He has had like 6-foot injuries dating back to college. He just I don't know, something is wrong with that foot. Put a metal rod in it, make it better. I don't know, but he just can't stay healthy. But that being said, he has like 290, 25 homer, 100 RBI upside playing, hitting where he's going to hit in that lineup in Cleveland. He was a top prospect. Again, just couldn't stay healthy. Brenton Doyle, I think, is the most interesting player in fantasy for a very weird reason. Unfortunately, last year, his wife lost their unborn child during pregnancy, and he came out and said it affected him tremendously. These are human beings. We want to boil them down to numbers. We want to boil them down to the performance that we see on TV or in the stands. But this is a guy who went through a tragedy. And he was very good in 2024. Cores or not. Going through such a tragedy like that, you have to expect a human being to not be able to do their job as well as they possibly could, especially a job as hard as hitting a baseball. That being said, there was also still a point last year where Brenton Doyle was very useful. I think he has great bounce back potential. He's being taken way late in drafts. You want to shoot for 2020 upside, 260 average. He could be a streaming guy that you play at home. I just think Brenton Doyle is kind of being forgotten for all the wrong reasons. And so I would definitely swing for the fences on him. Not to end on a somber note there, but apparently he's doing much better this year. And of course, my guy, Jackie Kaggs, right? So our outfield is our targets: George Springer, Jacob Marcy, Yordan Alvarez, Brian Reynolds, Ramon Laureano. Our avoids are Adolis Garcia, Dylan Cruz, the quad A Dylan Cruz, and Kyle Tucker. Oh, and no PCA, please. Michael Harris and Lawrence Butler are also on the avoid list. And our swing for the fences picks are Jung-Hoo Lee, Chandler Simpson with 100 stolen base upside, Jackie Kaggs, Brenton Doyle, and Chase DeLauder. That does it for our hitting position previews. Next week, we will have the pitchers, starters, and relievers. So I'm really looking forward to that because there are a lot of names to talk about. And I can also tell you this, we will have a mailbag segment, our From the Crew segment, because we have gotten a lot of questions about pitching, and I can't wait to answer them for you next week. So we're going to wrap it up right there. We'll be back next Friday with a brand new episode. And remember, the completely overhauled Draft Assistant, the live Draft Assistant, is available now for all PL Pro subscribers. To make sure you never miss an episode, please subscribe. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. And if you have a question, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can leave a comment on the YouTube video. You can email us at theshallowspod@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Blue Sky and Twitter. However the PL Pro Discord, I guess, is the last way too. There's so many ways you can reach out to us, and we're quite responsive, I will say. So
we try to be.
Yeah, we really do. We really do. So he's Carson Picard at Carson Picard on Blue Sky. I'm Eric Henriksen at Eric Hen on Blue Sky and Twitter, reminding you that murky waters are fine if you know how to swim. And if you don't, we've got the life vest for you. So see you next time in the shallows.
Take care, everybody.